How are you guys doing? On good? On good? Cool. One question though, who here still have stables in their portfolios? Raise your hand on those sideline people. Okay, just joking. Okay, I'm Marcus. I'm the head of ecosystem growth at 98. I'm then focusing on growing the ecosystem for Viction right now, our blockchain. I'm honored today to be moderating our panel about stablecoin, the game changer of global payments. And with me today, we have some panelists. Maybe you guys can introduce a bit about yourself and your project.
Thanks, Marcus. I'll go first. Hi, everybody. My name is Brian. I'm actually from WSPN, working as a product manager. So for those who might not have heard of us before, WSPN is basically the stablecoin issuer behind WUSD. We are actually a fiat-backed, US dollar-backed stablecoin. So we are, I think just now, Tanli also mentioned our upcoming partnership with Viction. So we've been working very closely with Viction Chain, and yeah, feel free to let us know if you have any questions after this.
Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, my name is Jay, and I work at Frax Finance, and I manage the BD section. At Frax Finance, we like to think of ourselves as the decentralized bank of crypto. We currently have 3 stables. So we have a US dollar peg stablecoin called Frax, an Ethereum peg stablecoin Fraxi, and also an inflation-resistant stablecoin called FPI. So yeah, thanks. Pleasure to be here.
All right, and my name is David. I am one of the core contributors of a new DeFi protocol called dTrinity, and we're going to be launching a new type of decentralized stablecoin, one that actually pays you to borrow it. So we're disrupting the way that existing stablecoin borrowing works, but I won't dive too much into it now.
Okay, cool. Save it for later, right? Right. Without further ado, let's jump into the first question. Let's take a bit step back and look at the landscape, right? How do you guys see the landscape of the stablecoin adoption in the last cycle and this cycle? Like, for more context, right? In the last cycle in 2020 and 2022, we got around 150 billion in US dollars in stablecoin. And right now, the market is sitting the right similar numbers, but do we see the same kind of adoption in terms of stablecoins like globally? And maybe Brian, you can start first.
Before I joined WSPN, I think it was back in 2017, the number stands at 2 billion. So 17 to peak of 21, which is about 130 billion. Today, 170, 175 billion. Definitely the trajectory is ongoing. If you ask me right now today, are we in a privileged position to be at the same peak of 2021? Definitely. How high would the number go? That's my question. My hope is in trillions. We get to trillions of market cap eventually. How long will it take? Question mark. But very simple observation that I have is definitely yes. And I think one of the factors is also Trump's victory, of course. At least from what we have heard, not quite sure of details yet, but stablecoin policies will definitely come into play. A lot more regulation will be sorted out. So this also gives opportunity for TradFi institutions to basically come on board legally. And once the global leader is going to go, your Europe is going to follow, your Asia is going to follow, everywhere else around that once part of the pie will come in. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of good points mentioned there. One thing I wanted to touch upon was like, obviously Trump winning was very influential in terms of DeFi. People are calling it now TrumpFi all of a sudden, And one thing I wanted to share was that, when Frax first came to birth, Stephen Moore, one of Trump's economic advisor, was onboarded onto Frax. And so now that Trump is back in the office, there's a lot of cool things that maybe we could start again. Yeah.
So I guess for me, I've been in the stablecoin space for more than 6 years now. So I'll touch on something a little bit different. So, every cycle it's not just the amount of stable coins that increases, but also the diversity of use cases, right? So in the beginning, it was just USDT. People were using it on like, Bitfinex and Binance. So that's like the era of centralized exchanges, right? And then you had, 2020 roll around and people started actually using stable coins in DeFi for, lending and borrowing or on DEXs and stuff like that. So I think, for me, what I see is as time goes on, the number of use cases will continue to expand and the people that are using stable coins will be drawn to it for these new reasons, right? So the question is like, what are the new reasons of this cycle? I mean, the narrative right now is pointing towards like payments and, a bunch of app chains and stuff like that. But, if there's one thing that the industry has been predictably wrong about, it is predicting what the next big thing will be. So I think stablecoins will grow inevitably, but it's hard to say what the use cases will be. But I think, so many people building different kinds of products, trying to tackle different kinds of use cases, it's going to grow the pie for everyone. So I think that's what really matters.
Cool. Yeah, totally agree, man. Touching on another angle about is like adoption, right? We've been talking about some use case, like David just shared, like from the last cycle to this cycle. How about regional adoption? Do you guys see any particular region that got a lot of more adoption in terms of stablecoin rather than the others? You want to share that?
Yeah, I guess I can start. So for me, I think about stablecoin adoption in two categories, right? So there's geography, like where are the users? And then there's TVL, right? Like where's the money? So in terms of users, I think people's, like a long time ago, the thesis for crypto and DeFi was it would bank the unbanked. It would, help all the people who didn't have access to the traditional financial system. And I think we're finally starting to see that play out the way that people thought it would play out, many years ago. So I think in terms of like active users and in terms of, growth, we're really seeing a lot of traction in developing markets. But, the flip side of that is, developing markets usually don't have a lot of money, right? So in terms of TVL, most of the volume is still coming from, rich countries where people are speculating on, the next meme coin or the next AI coin or whatever. So I think that trend is going to continue, but the hope is, now everyone has more equal access, at least to opportunities. So I think that's a great trend to see, and it's one that I think will continue.
Cool. Hi, Brian, you want to add more on this? Given that,
Yeah, when it comes to stablecoin adoptions, like David mentioned, I guess the TVL could be seen geographically, like on chain, like where, like does Arbitrum have more than like Base and etc. Like does it have more on Fractal? And I believe it's up to the ecosystem to make itself appealing to stablecoin issuers. Like why should there be something pegged in like a world of volatility? Because we want to offer our users more options. So if you want adoption, make sure there's enough room to grow, is like what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. I think it's quite interesting, both what David and Jay mentioned, because they come from the very decentralized concept, which in my opinion should be what we strive for, especially in crypto. Maybe I can touch on the centralized stablecoin aspect. David also mentioned geographies. Unfortunately, that's something that one of the metrics that we often have to look at, because do you have the right banking rails? Unfortunately, for me at least, my own personal opinion is stablecoin is actually a Web2, is a TradFi business model using Web3 applications. So have we actually broken down and try to understand, can we actually bring like the unbanked, the emerging markets into play here? Geography-wise, I think generally, the exact use case at retail level where retail can really feel something, unfortunately, that's small share of the volume, like what David pointed out as well. However, how do we actually improve that? That's the question that we eventually like to solve. Do I see a differentiation of stablecoin pickup in these areas? Definitely yes. Interest, adoption, I think definitely these are things that we would eventually like to have a little bit more clarity. Things, places such as Turkey, Argentina, where inflation has gone crazy, they have a really need, strong need for stablecoins. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to add in that it's interesting that you mentioned Argentina. There's a couple of days ago, I had the opportunity to meet some of our friends from Mercado Bitcoin from Brazil. They also shared some of the view from the stablecoin adoption in Latin America. So we'd love to share with you guys that they actually use it on daily basis, in some sorts, right? For some country, they don't have the like you said, unbanked rate is high, so they don't have accessibility to the finance globally. Now they do with blockchain, with stablecoin. With just a smartphone, you can just like get a wallet and then receive money from the US, especially from remittance. The people who work at the US, they send money back to their relatives in Latin America, in Mexico, in Brazil, which is like a fraction of a dollar for the fee, instead of like have a 10% cut and like it used to do. All right. So that I just want to add in some of the adoption that I see in real life. People are doing that in terms of remittance. Another thing they would do is that exposure to the US dollars, especially in country with high inflation, Argentina, like you mentioned. Imagine you have your salary worth of like 1,000 Bitcoin, and then you have to like double, like have half of it like tomorrow. That's the inflation in Argentina or some region like Turkey, right? And then the people have demand to exchange their value to like US dollar, where they have more power. And that's what we want to do with some of our players here at WUSD on Viction. We want to enable that, right? We want to enable the global finance accessibility on chain, where you can just open your wallet and receive WUSD on Viction with zero gas fee. That's what I will share more on this end. And as builders in the space, what do you see the opportunities to build in the growth chain of like the whole stablecoin adoption here? How do you see like yourself leverage the opportunities there? Hey, Brian,
I think I'll break it down into three verticals, especially for centralized stablecoin cycles. Currently, we're very focused on the retail side, where how do we actually create distribution channels? I to say, no matter which part of the region, you have at least a third party of ours, whether it's the OTC, whether it's exchanges, the accessibility to stablecoins should be available. Then, of course, it's how do we optimize and trim them on that front. On the retail side, something we are very focused and we're very privileged to be working with Viction on this. It's always been our dream to create cashless transactions. So this partnership definitely is going to help us achieve that. But eventually, we don't want the user to even feel any form of inconvenience or any form of distaste to creating an on-chain transaction. I had to say, if I were to send money to Marcus, I should just be, hey, Marcus, what's your phone number? What's your ID? And I'm able to transact. I don't need to care about which chain I'm working on. Do I have the native gas token? Do I have finality confirmation after only 2-3 days? If I'm going to using say Western Union route, like what you mentioned for folks who might need to transfer money in and out. So these are considerations that we would like to solve, and I think right now we have quite a good grasp on where that direction is going. On the institutional corporate partnership side of things, I think the main theme that we are actually trying to solve is on capital efficiency. So capital efficiency for corporates, for companies, how do I ensure that, yes, I might be holding stables or I might be holding even any other tokens. I might be fully allocated as an enterprise. But what is the business model that we can tweak in the interim until at least regulations are out? I think you guys have even better insights to that. But what can we play to ensure that capital efficiency is achieved at a corporate level? Those are kind of some of the insights that we will be focusing on at WSPN over the next couple of months. Yeah, Jake.
Awesome. For me, I'm picturing it very one-dimensionally. Like if I was just your average trader, where would I want to store my capital? I wouldn't say it's a substantial amount, but then I just probably look at one of the most either reliable while giving like decent yield, which is why I think Athena is doing a great job with their their marketing campaign. They're doing like crazy growth as well. Shout out to Seraphim. I think so. In terms of stablecoins, you have to provide a certain amount of absolute dependency where you can't fail because that's what you are. You have to be stable, and yeah.
What was the question?
Oh, I was asking on the opportunities that you see as for yourself and for your projects in building in the segment.
Okay, so the way that I see it, there's kind of two different, I don't want to say types, but stable coins are kind of approaching the market from two different directions, right? So there's the stable coins that are helping to bring in new users. So these are like, your USDCs, your USDTs, your USDGs, of the world, right? Who already have massive user bases, and they're able to convert some of those users into on-chain stablecoin users. And then you have the other side, which I would call like, I don't know, maybe like yield optimizers or I don't know, power users or something like that. So once people get on chain, they realize, hey, why am I holding this inflationary currency when the point of crypto is to, have a currency that I can actually maybe have some hope of maintaining purchasing power with, right? So I think we'll continue to see both sides develop, and at some point they will start to meet in the middle, right? So you will have, you're already kind of seeing this with, recent projects like USDG. They're starting to actually give back to the community. So that's more along like, the DeFi crypto ethos, right? And then you're starting to see, some DeFi projects try to appeal to more, mass adoption use cases. So I think eventually, like, these worlds will collide. But in the meantime, I think there's opportunities on both sides still, right? There's still, 90% of the world that has never even touched a crypto wallet. And once you get your money into crypto, there's so many places where people are currently using USDC or USDT where the user doesn't actually earn anything from using those stable coins when they could actually be, doing more with their money. So there's a lot of green space. I encourage anyone who's thinking about building stable coins, like the narrative is really ripe for stable coins right now. So it's a great time to build.
Cool. Interesting that you mentioned multiple other players in the market, stable coin. How are you guys differentiate yourself in this whole market? For some context, I got some statistic recently. There are around 70 plus stablecoin projects with more than 10 million in circulating supply. And how you guys differentiate yourself, like your project in this segment? This is the time to show your project.
Okay, so for me, the way that I see the current explosion of stablecoin diversity is that, a lot of people will experiment with, new mechanisms, new sources of yield, right? The most notable recent project is probably Athena, right? With USDE, they're now monetizing this basis trade that people have kind of known about, but they've turned it into this commodified product for everyone at this point. So I think we'll continue to see innovations like this. And really, what these new projects are trying to do is solve existing inefficiencies, right? So for example, in the past, if you want to long Bitcoin with perpetual futures, during the bull market, maybe you're paying like an absurdly high funding rate, right? But now that anyone can farm this funding rate, so to speak, it's actually a win-win for everyone, right? So people earn more yield, Bitcoin traders pay less. So, it's a net win, right? And that's where you could, that's where I encourage people to look, because there's a lot of inefficiencies like that still exist in the market. So I'll show my own stablecoin for a moment. So one of the inefficiencies that we discovered is right now, most stablecoin borrowing happens through USDC and USDT. But when you borrow those stablecoins, like Circle and Tether are the real winners, right? Like they keep your money, they keep the revenue. So we're launching a stablecoin called DUSD, where if you borrow our stablecoin, we'll actually pay you to borrow it using the revenue that the stablecoin generates. So I think there's a lot of opportunities like that, where you have, some existing inefficient paradigm And it's really just a race to zero. Like whoever can provide the most value to users the fastest is going to win.
Cool. For some context, for those of you who know, for the business model with USD and USDC is that you deposit US dollar to them, and then they earn the yield from that, maybe by purchasing T-bill, and like 5% enough for them, like $1 billion already, and they don't share with the stablecoin holders. With David just sharing that he would be sharing some of the yield from that, right? Cool. How about Jay for Frax?
So what was the original question? Like, how do you differentiate?
Your competitive advantage in terms of like in the market.
Well, firstly, you have to know your market as well. I mean, all those stablecoins have a very addressable market, as in like no matter how wide you cast your net, you know, you're always going to be able to have people hungry for stablecoins. But when you first start out, I guess your first 2 to 3 years, you have to know your market, and you have to sort of target very specifically who you want. You have to get it down like right to the KOLs that you use. I mean, which partners, like which projects that you partner with. Like, for example, if you want to have like a curve convex heavy bag, then obviously the dexes that you'd use are either built on Fractal, or you'd partner with like BUSD. Either like you have to know your market. So I guess that's how you differentiate yourself. If you know your market, then you're gonna know the users that you're gonna bring along.
Then I would say so. The advantage you having is the ecosystem that you're building to create a network effect, given like Frax only sitting like $1 billion supply, I guess, right? Cool. How about Brian? Yeah.
I'll give a very honest answer. My USP and from what I see internally, which is very different from maybe what you will see on the website. Okay, I think the first is WSPN's network within Asia itself. Most of what we had done previously as part of our parent companies, we have very strong presence within the Web3 space. Feel free to check in with me later. But we have very strong presence within the Web3 space from a reputation standpoint. We have many Web2 working partners. And I think one of the biggest thing that they have always feedback is, especially on the Web2 side, how do I actually use your stablecoin? How do I actually use a stablecoin? One is education, they don't have. But second thing that's stopping them is, education they don't have. Second thing is stopping them is regulation. Then there comes our selling point is, hey, we have licenses in all these different regions. We have the banking rails to make on-off ramping work. How many actual customers, direct customers does USDC or Tether actually have? Basically less than 100 for Tether. Basically for USDC, 200, 300 direct customers. So on our side, we want to build with the ecosystem. We have the foundational banking rails to on-off ramp. We want to create the accessibility. I think that's really one of the unique positions that we have. And a lot of our focus has also been growing with our partners, whether it's in a Web2 space, Web3 space. Something else to add and treat it as a quarterly update from my end is we have also a pretty strong team that's lining up. For context, we only started in Jan. Right now at this point, we have Rich, who was the ex co-founder of Paxos. Still the co-founder of Paxos. He's currently joined WSPN. Austin Campbell, who was the head of strategy at Paxos then, and Stephen Richardson, who's the APAC head at Fireblocks as well. So at least for me, and this is my opinion again, what I see internally is that the building blocks are slowly coming together. And in terms of direction execution, I think we have a very strong team to basically do that.
Cool. So you have the also ecosystem and the network effect, both in terms of Web 2 and Web 3, especially in Web 2 with regulation tempo and payment rails. And the other point, you have like the whole team, the squad that you got, the people from Paxos who, I guess they grew the BUSD to $1 billion, right? Now I would be expecting $1 billion in WUSD, the same case. Cool, but interesting that you mentioned the license you got in when you guys do the WUSD stablecoin. I want to know from your opinion whether we're gonna go next in the next few years. So either we're gonna go full decentralized, like totally decentralized stablecoin, or we're gonna go like license stablecoin only? What do you think about it?
I hope we won't go full extreme on any end. We had a quick catch up just now with David as well before our panel as well. But my opinion is it will be a mix of both. It will be a mix of folks who are on-chain degens who are very, very comfortable with using stablecoin. By all means, go for the decentralized option. If that's the means that they would like to keep their assets, definitely. However, if you have corporations, entities, institutions, they definitely need to work within a set of conditions, boundaries. So unfortunately, even if they would like to go the decentralized way, they might not be able to do so directly. Of course, indirect means on-off ramp as well. I think if I'm a user as an individual, I would also like to know that these assets are safe. So definitely look for something that has safe custody. You make sure that you're able to get your money in, get your money out. And I think I'll let the rest share their opinion. But the use side is definitely something that's interesting for why I would choose the decentralized coins, even as a centralized stablecoin issuer, because we just can't match the amount of you. Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, David. Can you share more?
Sure. So, I mean, largely I have the same opinion, right? So centralized stablecoins have their own use cases and advantages, and decentralized stablecoins have their own use cases and advantages. I mean, I think, this whole space is changing so quickly that like we're not going to have, some sort of stable environment where everyone is using the same solutions. I think the industry is going to continue to evolve. But I don't see world governments going away anytime soon, nor do I see, crypto going to zero anytime soon, right? So maybe, 20 years from now when it's like post AGI and we're in a post scarcity like civilization or whatever, sure, right? But for the foreseeable future, I think we will continue to need this balance of the existing off-chain institutions as well as, this new on-chain paradigm. So I think, it will be a good kind of contention between the two sides.
Thanks, David. I guess maybe we have time for one or two questions from the audience. If anyone want to ask, of course.
Hi. Hi, I'm Khan. I'm actually from Vietnam too. Nice to meet you guys. Since everyone here is talk about stablecoin, so because just a few days ago, I went to an event of Genesis. So they do the on-ramp, off-ramp solution. So what do you think about the potential of those and how the legal going to be tied and then how's it going to work? That I think is quite potential. Like in terms of you have a card and you go to the regular mechanic and you tap on it and debit by stablecoin. It could be like a utility, but it's like in real use case.
Definitely the potential is there. End of the day, the accessibility to stablecoin is what, for us as issuers, we are trying to solve. Because what is the purpose of my token if you can't get it easily?
Right.
Okay. Currently, the landscape that we are facing for pushbacks, especially from regulators, is what is the KYC process? What's the AML process? How do I ensure that I know where the source of funds are coming from? So unless the idea is we are able to work directly with such firms, we understand their process, which, to be fair, I don't have an idea of this project. Once we are getting the details, definitely it's possible. Just to share with you some of even our internal discussions, we even take a look at, hey, in Latin American countries, for example, what other creative ways can we come up with, or partners that can help us actually execute this? Am I able to buy stablecoin as easy as buying an Amazon gift card? Am I able to basically not go through OTC, not get scammed, and get my stablecoin? So those are kind of questions that we are trying to answer as well.
Yeah, so because I really like this topic, so I actually went there and I talked to like growth lead, product owner, developer, business strategy, and everyone in the team. So basically, to do on-ramp, off-ramp on their project, they have to go through many other solution provider as well. They cannot do that themselves. Like they have to partner up with Visa card, MasterCard. They have to make sure they like some liquidity pool and make sure everything works there, and then make sure who gonna take care of the treasury and how to like balance between like crypto fund versus fiat fund. So yeah, it's a big game to play. But what do you think? Like, is it potential? Because I know
It
right
will
now,
happen. It will happen.
right?
So I will tell you that it will happen. Right now, your biggest card providers, service providers, your MasterCard, Visa,
Right.
they are already looking at how do I, within the whole payment cycle, whether it's e-commerce, cross-border payments, from 10 steps, how am I going to actually reduce it to 1 step, 2 steps? It is already happening. I think just now Alex also talked about what the acquisition of Bridge. That is also one of the avenues that Stripe is actually looking to bring onto their system, because they are not a stablecoin issuer. What they can do is everything else. So this will basically greatly help the space. I can't say too much because this is quite a bit of confidentiality on what we are doing at this point. But I can give you the confidence is your MasterCards, your Visas, they're looking at it. And using stablecoin as a settlement currency, basically to reduce the overall payment cycle. You're reducing your intermediaries needed, your banks are on board with them, your payment service providers, liquidity providers are willing to basically help settle this transaction that is going from point A to point B.
One more questions. So do you believe in custodial or non-custodial wallet for this kind of solution?
As an individual or as an employee?
Both.
Okay, I'm very pro DeFi. So for me, I prefer to use non-custodial wallets.
Right.
However, if you're looking at the overall technology that is able to support, I would say that you still need a certain element of centralization. I mentioned just now that what we're trying to do on the retail payment side as well. End goal is, can I get it to be a non-custodial wallet for centralized operations? So we are not just working with Viction on this. Viction is definitely one of our working partners, but we're also working with custody technology providers on how do we actually resolve this. And things will still be published on chain, but how am I going to bring, I would say, looking ahead, a little bit of the interesting elements, whether it's ZK, whether is it via off-chain computes that we're going to store somewhere to ensure verification of some of this privacy stuff.
Right. Thank you very much. I have more questions, but maybe later. I'll let other people ask. Thanks.
Yeah, feel free to grab our speakers later after the panel, because we ran out of time for the next one. Thank you very much, gentlemen, and please give a big applause to them. All right.